There was a morning not too long ago when I sat alone at the kitchen table, a hot cup of coffee in my hands, and the house felt still. Not peaceful, just quiet in a way that made the walls feel wider and the clock seem louder. I looked around and thought to myself, is this what retirement is supposed to feel like? No rush, no meetings, no noise, but also no one to share the morning with. That was the moment I realized something. Loneliness isn't about being alone. It is about feeling invisible, forgotten, like the world is moving on without you. But I am here to tell you, it does not have to be that way. Over the years, I have learned a few simple habits, not from books or seminars, but from real days and quiet moments. 7 small things I do that keep my spirit full, even when the house is empty. And today, I want to share them with you, not to fix you, not to preach, but just as one person in this season of life, reaching out to another, because I believe we are not meant to drift through our later years. We are meant to live them, fully, richly, and without loneliness as a constant companion. So if you have ever felt that quiet ache in your chest, this message is for you. Habit 1. Wake up with a purpose. I used to think retirement meant sleeping in, taking it easy, letting the day unfold however it wanted. For a while, I did just that. No alarm clock, no real plan. I'd wake up whenever my body decided it was time, shuffle into the kitchen, make some coffee, and then nothing. The day would stretch out in front of me like a long road with no destination. At first, it felt relaxing, but over time, that sense of freedom started to feel more like floating, like I had no anchor, no reason to move forward. Then one morning, I asked myself a question that changed everything. What am I waking up for? Not in a dramatic, life or death kind of way, just in the simple, everyday sense. What's the first thing that gets me out of bed? Something that pulls me into the day instead of pushing me through it? I started small. Some mornings, it was just feeding the birds in the backyard. Other days, it was writing down 3 things I was grateful for in a little notebook my daughter gave me. I don't always wake up for something big or exciting. Most days, it's something quiet. Watering the plants, stretching for 5 minutes, sitting outside to listen to the wind. But here's what I've learned. Purpose doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be yours. Purpose gives the day shape. It gives your energy direction. And when you build your morning around something intentional, even something simple, your entire mindset shifts. You stop waiting for the day to bring you something, and you start meeting the day with open hands. For me, waking up with a purpose doesn't mean I'm busy every minute. It just means I'm not drifting. I'm choosing, I'm engaged. And that sense of engagement, it is powerful. It quiets that voice that says, what am I even doing with my time? Because you know exactly what you're doing. You're living with intention. And that, my friend, is the opposite of loneliness. Habit 2. Speak to one human being every day. There was a stretch of time, not long after I retired, when I realized something strange. I could go an entire day without speaking to anyone. Not a phone call, not a visit, not even a hello at the grocery store. The quiet wasn't peaceful. It was hollow. It made me feel like I didn't exist to anyone but myself. And I think that's what makes loneliness sting. It's not just about being alone. It's about feeling invisible. So I made a rule for myself. Every single day, talk to at least one person. Doesn't matter who. Doesn't matter how long. Just one real human connection. Some days, it's a text to my grandson. Other times, it's a quick phone call to my sister. When I go out for a walk, I try to greet the neighbors, even if it's just a wave or a short, "How are you today?" The lady at the checkout counter, the guy at the post office. These are all opportunities. I'm not waiting for deep, hour-long conversations every time. but I do try to make it real. I look people in the eye. I smile. I say their name if I know it. Human connection doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be intentional. The surprising thing is, once you open yourself to these little moments of connection, they start showing up more often. People respond. They smile back. They remember you. That sense of being part of something, of being noticed and acknowledged, it does wonders for the heart. And when you string those days together, days with even just one moment of real connection, you realize something beautiful. You are not as alone as you thought. So if it's been a while since you reached out, start with one. One person, one text, one phone call. Let it be small, but let it be real. You don't have to fix anyone's day. You just have to remind yourself and them that we're all still here and we still matter to each other. Habit 3. Move your body no matter how slowly. When I was younger, I moved without thinking. I lifted, ran, climbed, carried. Movement was second nature. But as the years passed, I started to slow down. My knees complained more often. My back stiffened in the mornings. And for a while, I gave in to that slowdown. I thought, well, this is just how it is now. So I moved less. I stayed seated longer. I told myself rest was what I needed. But then something strange happened. The less I moved, the heavier everything felt. Not just my body, but my spirit, my energy, my motivation, even my emotions. One morning, I decided to take a walk, just down the block and back. That's it. It took maybe 10 minutes, but when I got home, I felt lighter. Not just physically, but mentally. That 10-minute walk felt like I had shaken something loose that had been stuck for too long. From that day on, I made a quiet promise to myself. Move your body every day, no matter how slowly. Now, that doesn't mean I go to the gym or run marathons. Some days, I stretch my arms and legs while watching the morning news. Other days, I walk around the yard or do light chores around the house. The point isn't to work out. It's to remind myself that I'm still here, still alive, still capable. Movement is more than exercise. It is a declaration. It says, I'm not done yet. It reconnects us with our bodies and keeps us from disappearing into the couch or the bed or the chair. It wakes up something inside us, something that wants to stay engaged with the world. And here's the truth. Loneliness shrinks when we move. When we feel ourselves walk, or stretch, or bend, or breathe, we feel present again. We remember that we are not fragile. We're resilient. We've made it through years, decades. Our bodies may be slower now, but they're still ours. They're still strong in their own quiet way. So move, even if it's just a little. Even if it's just to stand up, breathe deep, and walk to the mailbox. Your body is your home. Treat it like it still matters, because it does, and so do you. Habit 4. Stay curious, even about small things. After I retired, I thought I had seen most of what life had to offer. I had worked hard, raised a family, paid off the house, buried some loved ones, celebrated new beginnings, and stood through hard endings. There was a quiet satisfaction in that, but also, for a while, a dangerous stillness. The day started to feel the same. Morning, coffee, news, lunch, nap, maybe a phone call, then the evening news, then repeat. At first, I told myself I was just settling in, but deep down, I knew something was missing. It wasn't noise or people, it was spark, that feeling of being interested in something. Not because I had to be, but because I wanted to know more. So one afternoon, I sat on the porch and watched a squirrel try to figure out my bird feeder. I found myself smiling, even laughing. And then I asked a question I hadn't asked myself in a while. Why do they keep coming back if they can't open it? That silly question led me down a little rabbit hole. I read a few articles about squirrel behavior, how intelligent they are, how they can remember hiding spots for food for months. Before I knew it, I'd spent an hour reading, learning, thinking, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a while: curiosity. That day reminded me, you don't have to be young to stay curious. In fact, I think curiosity becomes even more important as we grow older. When you stop learning, when you stop wondering, life begins to flatten out, days lose their flavor. Curiosity adds color to the hours. It makes you look a little longer, listen a little closer, ask a few more questions, even about ordinary things. Now I keep a little list on my kitchen counter. Just a sticky note with things I want to learn or explore. Sometimes it's small, like how to make homemade granola. Other times it's bigger, like learning to use a new app to video call my grandkids. I'm not fast with it. I make mistakes, but I try. And that trying, that's what makes me feel alive. Curiosity doesn't require a degree. It doesn't care how old you are or how much you remember. All it asks is that you stay open to new ideas, small adventures, even unfamiliar questions. And when you stay curious, you open a door that loneliness can't walk through. Because your mind is busy reaching toward the world, not retreating from it. So stay curious. Ask questions. Look things up. Try something you've never tried before, no matter how small. Let the world surprise you again. It's still capable of wonder. And so are you. Habit 5. Be the one who reaches out first. There was a time when I spent my days hoping the phone would ring. I'd check the caller ID, sometimes more than once, just to make sure I hadn't missed anything. I'd think, maybe today someone will stop by, or maybe my son will have time to call. And when nothing came, I'd feel that ache, quiet but deep, like I had been left behind by the world, like I was waiting for an invitation that never showed up. But one afternoon, after feeling particularly low, I asked myself something I had never dared to before. What if everyone else is waiting too? What if my daughter was thinking of me but didn't want to bother me? What if my friend across town was sitting by her own window, just like me, waiting for someone to go first? That thought shifted something inside me. So the next day, I picked up the phone and called someone. I didn't overthink it. I just said, "Hey, I was thinking about you." That one small act opened the door to a half hour of laughter, catching up, and warmth I hadn't felt in weeks. And that's when it hit me. I don't have to wait to be remembered. I can do the remembering. So I made it a habit. Every week, I reach out to someone first. Sometimes it's a friend I haven't spoken to in years. Sometimes it's a neighbor I wave at, but never really talk to. I send a funny photo to my granddaughter or drop a postcard in the mail just to say, "Hi, I'm thinking of you." And here's what I've discovered. Most people are grateful to be reached out to. Everyone's busy, yes, but everyone is also human. And sometimes they're just waiting for permission to reconnect. Being the one who reaches out first does not mean you're desperate. It means you're strong enough to care, to lead with love, to take the first step. And every time you do, you remind someone else and yourself that connection is still possible. I've built a new rhythm around this habit. It's not about big gestures. It's about consistency. One message, one call, one knock on the neighbor's door. These small moments stitch your days together in a way that brings warmth back into your world. So if you've been waiting, maybe today is the day to stop waiting. Be the one who sends the message. Make the call. Write the note. Smile first. Wave first. Speak first. You're not intruding. You're offering something beautiful. The reminder that none of us are truly alone, as long as we remember one another. Habit 6. Create something, no matter how simple. After I stopped working, I realized how much of my identity had been tied to doing. I had a job, tasks, responsibilities. People needed me for things. I fixed what was broken. I solved problems. I was part of a system that had a rhythm. Then suddenly, it all went quiet. No one was asking for anything. My hands felt empty. My calendar was blank. And while some part of me appreciated the rest, another part whispered, "What now?" I spent those first few months in a kind of fog. I was present, but not really engaged. I watched TV, did the laundry, sat on the porch. But I wasn't making anything. Not with my hands, not with my mind, not with my heart. And after a while, that emptiness started to settle in my chest like dust on an unused table. One day, I found an old journal in a box in the garage. It was something I had barely written in years ago. I sat down, opened it, and started writing. Not anything profound, just a memory, a recipe, a moment that had stuck with me. It felt clumsy at first, but strangely satisfying. The next day, I wrote a little more. A few lines turned into a few paragraphs, and before I knew it, I was looking forward to those quiet moments of writing each day. That's when I rediscovered something that had always been there, but had gotten lost in the noise of life: the joy of creating. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not an artist. I don't paint or build furniture. But I've come to realize that creating something doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be you. Maybe you write, maybe you bake, maybe you fix old radios, tend a garden, sew buttons on old shirts, or make silly little crafts for your grandchildren. The point isn't to impress anyone. The point is to give your hands and heart something to do together, to take a moment, an idea, a feeling, and turn it into something real. When we create, we remember that we're more than consumers. We don't just sit and watch, we participate. We add something to the world, no matter how small. There's a little shelf in my kitchen now with things I've made. A loaf of bread from a recipe I tried last winter. A short letter I wrote to myself and sealed in an envelope. A photo album I finally organized after 10 years of putting it off. None of it would matter to the world, but it matters to me because I made it. And in the process, I reconnected with a part of myself that had gone quiet. Creating brings us back to life. It gives us purpose. It reminds us that we still have something to give, not just to others, but to ourselves. So if your days have started to feel a little hollow, ask yourself this: what can I make today? Not to prove anything, not to sell or display, just to feel your own spark again. Because inside you, even now, there's still something waiting to be made. Something beautiful, something honest, something only you can create. And when you do, loneliness takes a step back. Because in that moment, you're no longer just passing time, you're shaping it, making it yours. And that is a deeply powerful thing. Habit 7. Speak kindly, especially to yourself. I've spent most of my life trying to be kind, to my family, to my neighbors, to strangers I met at the grocery store. I taught my children to say please and thank you. I held doors open. I forgave people, even when they didn't ask for it. I always believed kindness mattered, and I still do. But for most of my life, I forgot to be kind to one person: myself. You see, when I was younger, I used to push through things, work hard, don't complain, be strong. If something went wrong, I blamed myself. If something didn't work out, I assumed I should have done better. I didn't even notice it then. It just felt normal. But now, in these later years, when the house is quiet and the world moves a little slower, I've started to hear my own thoughts more clearly. And some of those thoughts? They weren't very kind. Little things like, "You're too old for that now," or "Why didn't you do this sooner?" or "You're just in the way." I never would have said those words to anyone I love, but I said them to myself almost every day. One morning, after dropping a glass and watching it shatter on the kitchen floor, I heard myself mutter, "You idiot." And that stopped me. Right there in the middle of that mess, I thought, why am I talking to myself like that? That was the moment I realized something powerful. The voice we hear the most in life is our own. So, we better make it a kind one. Now, I make an effort, not always perfectly, but consistently, to speak to myself with the same gentleness I would offer to someone I care about. I say things like, "It's okay to be tired today," or "You did your best," or simply, "You matter." I've learned that self-kindness isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about giving yourself permission to be human, to age, to forget, to slow down, to feel, and to do all of that without guilt or shame. When you speak kindly to yourself, you create a space inside that feels safe. That kind of space pushes loneliness away, not because someone else is filling it, but because you're not abandoning yourself anymore. Think about it. If a friend came to you and said they were feeling useless or invisible, you wouldn't scold them. You wouldn't tell them they're a burden. You'd sit with them. Listen. Maybe remind them of who they are and all they've done. So, why not offer that same comfort to yourself? Every day now, I try to say one good thing to myself, out loud when I remember. Sometimes it's simple. I'm proud of how far I've come. Or, I'm allowed to rest today. Other times, it's just standing in front of the mirror and smiling, even if I don't feel like it. Those moments add up. They change the way you feel in your own skin. So, if you find that most of the harshness in your life comes from the voice inside your own head, it's time to change the tone. Start small, be patient, but speak with kindness. Because at the end of the day, no matter who else is or isn't around, you will always be with you. And the way you treat yourself will shape how the rest of the world feels. And trust me, my friend, you deserve kindness. From others, yes, but especially from yourself. So if you've made it this far, I just want to say thank you. Not just for watching, but for being here, for still choosing to live with intention, with heart, even on the quiet days. These 7 habits aren't magic. They won't fix everything overnight, but they've helped me turn silence into peace, stillness into meaning, and solitude into strength. Loneliness may knock on the door sometimes, but now I know how to answer it with purpose, connection, movement, curiosity, kindness, and love. And so do you. If this message spoke to you, maybe send it to someone else who might need it too. We're all walking this road together, and none of us need to walk it alone. You are seen, you are remembered, and you still matter deeply.